Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Canadian Passive Investing Show. I'm your host, 𝗖𝗑 𝗖𝗽, and I'm joined by my co-host, 𝗖𝗪 Biniaz. We have another really great show for you today. Please like and subscribe as it helps us build our channel and allows us to keep bringing you great content and expert guest speakers. Our mission is to empower investors to earn passive income through real estate investing. Today, we are joined by Sam Sells, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a background on Sam. His company is 𝗖𝗪𝗜 Capital, and they're on a mission to share the good news of real estate syndication. After years of success in residential real estate and traveling to some of the most impoverished areas of the globe, Sam Sells founded 𝗖𝗪𝗜 Capital with the mission to aid America's affordable housing crisis while helping others achieve financial freedom through real estate investing. So never a believer in the going in alone, which I love that, Sam. He recruited his personal hero and experienced construction engineer, Steve Sells, which I believe is your brother, to start his adventure with him in 2018. 𝗖𝗪𝗜 Capital Real Estate Syndication are health initiatives that operate in a capitalistic paradigm, taking neglected assets and turning them into housing that someone is proud to call a home. These real estate investments also offer phenomenal risk-adjusted returns that enable passive investors to pursue financial freedom and build long-term wealth. Super exciting stuff that we're going to be discussing today, and we believe that this interview with Sam will bring great value to real estate investors looking to partner with an operator that not only looks at making profits, but also how to give back to communities that they invest in. And we call that investing with an impact, which we'll also dive into. So welcome, Sam. Thanks
Welcome,
for being
Sam.
here.
Thank you so much, 𝗖𝗪 and 𝗖𝗑. Really appreciate it.
We're happy to have you on today. Maybe you could just start off by telling everybody about your background and your start in real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. Started, flipping homes like a lot of people do, single family residences back in the early 2000s. And, I grew up poor, and I can even tell you some really funny stories. When you're a kid, you don't care about growing up poor. You're just a kid and you're playing, taking baths and horse troughs and stuff like that. And when we were little, we had no idea that that's what poor was like, but it was just what life was all about. But, being on the other side now and looking through life, I, really have a passion for this. So the better part of the last 12 years, I've spent focused traveling around the world with US military as focused on global health initiatives. So helping to develop healthcare systems, mainly with using small aircraft to retrieve battle wounded off the battlefield and moving them, or, in sub-Saharan Africa or in Asia and Nepal, helping them set up a rotary wing helicopter type evacuation if a bus goes off the cliff and there's 50 casualties, and how do you get access to them and so forth. So helping to create and build these sustainable systems within their countries. And I will tell you, after building probably 10 or so 200-bed treatment centers in West Africa, developing overseas and developing in the United States, it's very different. Very, very different. A lot less red tape overseas. However, if the right person in the government does not approve, then it does not matter. And it's just very, very interesting. So when I retired from the military, and even before then, we decided that we wanted to focus on multifamily and get out of the single family game, really, so we could scale and still get after impact investing. And so we've stayed true to that. We focus far and away mostly on affordable housing, not big A affordable housing. So we're not doing LIHTCs, the low-income housing tax credits, or land use restrictive agreements with the government. What we are doing is we're looking for Class C assets that are naturally affordable, and taking these that are distressed, where responsibility has been abdicated, where institutional level firms typically avoid, so that we can get after that segment of society and that is in high demand, and take those units and create something special that we can feel good about and affect as many lives as possible.
That's incredible.
I
That's
love to
incredible.
hear that. It's really beautiful.
I would like to kind of touch on your background a bit, but let's focus on this concept of impacts investing, right? So the business we're in is real estate private equity. We deal. I'm assuming you syndicate your deals, so you're dealing with investors who fund the equity for your projects. How do you create that balance of where investors are coming in, and most times they we send them an 80-page or 100-page offering memorandum, and they just scroll down to the return page to see what is their returns for them. How do you create a balance where the profit-focused investors to impact investing? Do you go after certain type of investor? How do you create that balance in your offerings and in your investments when you have investors coming in and they're very much focused on returns?
Yeah, so I firmly believe that we can do good or do well in the world in a profit paradigm. So doctors work for money, right? But they're doing something good and they're creating healthier populations, whether by one person at a time, perhaps, or their public health, they're looking at populations at a time or communities at a time. But they're doing it within a profit paradigm. So there's insurance payments or so forth. And then you can set aside some profits to be more, giving perhaps. But what we have found is when we take over these properties, we provide a vision to the managers of those assets of what this place could be. And they help us get there by being good stewards to the residents who are there, by identifying to us the needs that are there that we need to answer and respond to. And what we have found is these places flourish. So occupancy just stays the max amount of units available. They're full. They're always full. And sometimes there's bad eggs that get in there, bad apples, and you need to take care of those things. But far and away, we have found that if you take care of the residents, you treat them well, you take care of the on-site management, you treat them well, you show them the right path, and then you hold them accountable and provide that governance structure that they need to flourish, then the place flourishes. And if it's flourishing, so if we are focusing on changing lives, building communities, then wealth grows. And in fact, we find that our occupancy rates are higher than what other places are because of the way that we treat people and how they run the actual facility on the ground.
Yeah, it's very much focused on the tenants and the communities that you guys acquire. So I'm more than happy to kind of touch on that as well. But again, focusing on the investors, this idea of raising private equity for your deals. When you present an offering to your database, is the impact investing portion of it also included in your offering? Is that something you focus on, or that's just a byproduct of what you do? Talk to us about that, please.
A little bit of both. So we don't heavily emphasize that in our offerings anymore. We did at the beginning, and we've kind of retracted from that. For one, like you said, the offering memorandum could just get so big and heavy, and it's like giving them a Bible. I love the Bible, but I don't want to send somebody 1,000-page document that they're going to spend a year reading, 3 pages at a time to get through it. That's not where we really want to be. We want something that's easily comprehensible, to have questions they can reach out. But at the end of the day, it still has to be a wise investment. So they need to see what impact it has financially, and they need to see what impact it has socially. If we can answer both of those targets, and there's also environment and social and governance, these different aspects, and so we try to answer each one of those, how that's inputted into our business plan, and where we are taking this project, and then what kind of returns they can expect.
That's awesome. I always say that multifamily is like a win-win-win. And that's what's so beautiful about this business, is because the community is winning because you're making it a better place for them to live. Your investors are investing with an impact. So they're kind of double winning because they're part of that portion of making a community a better place to live. And then they're also getting those returns. And then you're creating jobs for people. So all of it just combined is just why I think all of us love multifamily, being in this business so much. Now, Sam, I have a question for you. You were you had your residential going on and then you wanted to scale. So you're like, okay, the best way to scale our portfolio as an active investor is by getting into multifamily. But what was it about multifamily that piqued your interest to start investing in it? What else was it about multifamily?
So there's some benefits that are inherent to multifamily that aren't really captured elsewhere. So with multifamily apartment complexes, they're easily understood by investors, as we discussed before, but they're also easily understood by banks. And so if I take a 100-unit mobile home park that's distressed, and I take a 100-unit apartment complex that's distressed, the bank will take the 100-unit apartment complex and give me a loan on that all day long. The mobile home park is going to be a struggle, and it's going to be very expensive debt and so forth and so on. So if you're going to scale, multifamily is a great place to do that at, because you can go with this package that's easily understood. The business plan is simple, everything's there, and you can move forward. So that was really our transition point. Was we are working so hard to get all these deals done, and we purchased 10 mobile home parks in the first year. And the cash on cash returns were fantastic, but they required a lot of cash, and getting debt was so difficult that we really turned to apartment complexes, and it's been no turning back since then.
That's really great. And yeah, the banks, yeah, you make a really good point. The banks they look at what the income that property is producing, right? So it is a lot easier. Not a lot of people realize that it is easier to get financing on a multifamily than it is to scale your portfolio as an active investor one by one on the single family level.
Yeah, single family is, they're assessed as comparables, right? Hey, what did your neighbor sell for? They don't care what the income that single family is producing, whereas multifamily is only looked at as the income, just like you said, from the income. Great. Yeah. No,
exciting
awesome
stuff.
now let's talk about private equity, because our show is very much focused on this concept of raising capital for deals and this concept of real estate private equity. So you're doing single family, you're involved in mobile homes, I believe, and then now you're getting involved in multifamily, much bigger deals, much bigger need for equity. How do you what's the first step that you go, hey, I need more money to buy bigger deals? How do you go about doing that? And we love hearing different stories of people leveraging their network or leveraging their background. Talk to us about what was your journey like about kind of going to people and saying, hey, invest with me, let's buy apartment buildings.
Yeah, and maybe your approach of continuously, creating relationships with investors and stuff. That would be great.
Yeah, so I think it's been a very interesting journey. We've purchased a 245-unit complex recently. That was the largest to date. And then we have another 300 something we're going to close on here in the next couple months.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. What we found, or at least how I think about the world, is, we work best by teams, right? So, if you put Ava and August together, it's a fantastic team. You guys are knocking it out of the world, but of course you're going to add more team members together. But having that constant feedback and having somebody there alongside you can say, hey, that was really dumb, and you'll be like, yeah, that was, I shouldn't have done that. Let's see what we can do to fix this, right?
100%.
So if we can, so we look at it like that. And so I look at the capital stack, your debt, your equity, if there's a mezzanine finance or a pref on there. I look at that capital stack really as 3 or 4 different portions. And so when we get to these larger properties that are 20 million, 30 million and above, you can say, okay, here, I have a partner now who's focused just on the big tickets. They're going to go to an institutional investor or family office who's going to give us a check for $5, 10, $15 million. And that's going to take care of that big portion. We're going to go in within our own network and we're going to raise $1 to $3 million to take care of the next little sliver of that, because we always want to be provide access to our pool of investors who started out small, just like myself, and looking at 20 grand going, that's a lot of money, and then now it's like, it's only 20 grand, we got to do something about that, So it's, our lives change when we start getting down this path. And so now we can look at these bigger deals and say, okay, $10 million is going to go to institutional partner A, B, or C. Next, we're gonna send this out to our network, and we're going to raise $2, $3, or $4 million. Then next, we're going to put our own cash in the deal of 10% of the equity raised total is ours. Next is our favorite Merchants Capital Bank or one of these other lenders. You're going to give us 2 3/4 or 3.5 on a value add complex, and cost of debt's really low, cost of capital's low. It boosts returns for our investors, and we get to hit those 20% plus actual returns to investors on an annual basis. And that's really what we're targeting, and that's how we think about it. So partnering with partners who can access and go after different parts of the pie, it all comes together, and we're able to close on these big projects.
Nice.
Great. And to build that database, I mean, the different strategies that exist in building and cultivating and nurturing relationship with investors as LPs coming in to invest in your deals. Is there any particular strategies that you use to consistently build that database? We personally met you at a capital raising summit in Columbia, South Carolina, Dan Hanford's passive investing summit there. So it was great to meet you in person.
Yeah, definitely.
But do you, what is like the main strategy you use? Do you do in-person events? In our case, we also have like our YouTube show where a lot of people watch it and they connect with us. We're also very actively involved on LinkedIn. We create lots of content and we send it out there, and people see that content and connect with us. What are some of the strategies you utilize to connect with potential investors who then look forward to invest in your projects?
It's really come, for me personally, has come with engaging with people that I know and trust, like yourselves. It's, finding really, really good people who are also syndicating or have access to capital in that event, and then partnering with them on a project. I find that I'm really good at putting the team together, operating, owning, being part of the GP and kind of guiding that process to maximize returns. I'm really good at that part. I love in-person engagements where we can talk and laugh together. I haven't gone down that process of myself being on YouTube or elsewhere, because I think I have a face for radio. And I'm sure all your viewers are like, yep.
You look great, man.
That guy's definitely got a face for radio. But so I think, when we work together, we can achieve more. And so it's really about partnering with other people who are super good at like what you guys do.
That's awesome.
Great.
And yeah, he creates those strong relationships in person. I remember before you came on, I'm like, Sam's coming on, you were very like energetic and funny and people, that's kind of your superpower.
Good energy.
Yeah.
You had a great
good
energy too.
Yeah.
When we met
People
him.
probably, gravitate towards you in person because you're fun, you're a good guy. So that's kind of your superpower. So that's really good to hear.
Great. Let's switch the focus onto the deal itself.
Yes.
So you're in Texas. Are you very focused in the region you invest in? Are you top of a general partner that needs to be hands-on, needs to be close by the asset, or are you kind of agnostic about where you invest? It just depends on where is the deal that comes across your desk. How do you go about finding the deals that you invest in?
So during our growth process, we began very location agnostic. We didn't really care as long as the deal penciled out. Now we are focused primarily on the Sun Belt, focused mostly in Texas and Florida, where we are seeing most of the product that we really want to get after. We know those markets very well. Lived in those markets. I used to live in Florida, lived in Texas off and on for the better part of 30 years. And we do some stuff in Oklahoma because no one ever goes to Oklahoma, and we can still get a 7 cap or better there. So that's always very enticing, and it's a market we also know pretty well. Like Tulsa, where there's 60 people on a waiting list to get into an apartment complex. You just can't beat stuff like that. So
Oklahoma, that's kind of an interesting thing. Is there lots of people kind of going there? What does that look like for the population growth?
Population growth is steady, mild.
Waiting list.
But it's, what's happened is like all these really old complexes have kind of dated themselves, and nobody wants to move into these dumps anymore. And so anything that's clean, safe, and a healthy place to live, it's just, we have a 245 unit there we closed in Tulsa, and I got the, property managers sent us the list, and there's 62 people on the waiting list.
On the waiting list. Wow.
62, it's just-
That's good for you guys. That's
It's
awesome.
like, oh, well, maybe we should buy more here. We like this, so
Okay, that's right on. Okay. Oklahoma. We learn new little, golden nugget like spots that you never really know
For
about.
sure,
So
for sure. Great. So now let's talk about the asset. We talked about kind of your background. We talked about, investors. We talked about the regions to invest in. We talked about why multifamily that we love so much. Now let's talk about, you got your hands on an asset. The impact investing is a big part of your investment thesis. Even though to your investors, they might be very focused on the returns, but now you got your hands on this asset. How are you going to add value that you're not only, it's a lot of times when we talk about a value add and the business model is just increasing the NOI, and the best way to increase the NOI is by increasing rents. People right away think about us or this business as shoddy landlords that go in and push rents and kick out some old lady who's in the building. So talk to us about how do you achieve increase of NOI in a multifamily asset, which is the number one way to increase that asset's value without being a landlord who comes in and still managing a great community. How does that work? And you touched on it earlier, but go into more detail, please.
Yeah. So create value. It all comes down to there. What does the value look like to that target area? Tulsa, the area, they don't care about granite countertops. It means they're not going to pay for it. They're not interested in it. They just want a clean, safe place to live. Now, it looks like wood floors, gray walls, white trim, looks modern, LED lights. It looks pretty. It looks attractive. It feels warm and inviting. They're going to pay for that. They are happy to pay for that. It's a boost to them. If I'm in Dallas, it's probably going to get granite countertops because that's what the market wants. That's what people are looking for. That's the value they want. And then next is, okay, well, how's the property manager going to treat me? How's the owner going to treat me? So there's value there that's hard to quantify until you start seeing turnovers go down. And do they have a sense of community? Do they have friends? So there's other things that we look at to create value that people are willing to pay for, so that they come to our apartment complexes and stay at our apartment communities. And, so we are always focused on that value creation. So yeah, right. If you take something that's there and you're just like, all right, everyone, rent's boosted by $50 a month, and and then you could maybe perhaps be called the shoddy landlord, but maybe they needed to be boosted by $50 a month because they're $200 below the market. And what you're doing is people treat things better that they pay for. The more they pay for the apartment, the more they're likely to take care of that apartment or that house. And so it's the same way with what we look at, create value.
Nice. I like that. And yeah, very well. Good.
For sure. Now, talk to us about property management. So, as a general partner, as a fund manager, you've purchased an asset. You bring in I'm assuming you bring in a third-party property manager. But you were speaking about how a property manager treats the tenants. Now, do you guys have meetings with the property manager, explaining to them that what is your vision about the building and how the tenants should be treated? Like, is there such communication in place, and how do you guys go about doing that?
We decided early on that we were going to vertically integrate our property management.
Okay.
And so we built, actually it's a set of companies now, licensed in different states, but they do property management every day. It's actually ran by my brother, Jesse. He was a human intelligence guy for special operations. He loves working with humans and all their fantastic disasters. Like that's why he and I get along so well, perhaps. I'm the disaster and he gets to, work with me. Anyway, so he loves that stuff. He enjoys that stuff. But what we've done is we created the vision at the top, and then we pushed it down through all of the, not pushed it, but we hire staff that can align to that vision. And then him and his staff, I think they have 37, 38 people on staff now across the machine. They understand the vision, they understand where we're going, and they keep those core values, you know, of integrity and change and building communities and so forth. Because we've done that, we can control that very, very well. So meetings, engagements, calls, site visits, we can see what they're doing, how they're doing it, and ensure that they are doing it as we would have them do it.
Right on. Right on.
Great. Give us some predictions of the market. So as you know, like with the pandemic and what's happening with the the unknown of the interest rates. Currently, the interest rates is literally free money that the banks are giving out when you compare the interest rates to inflation.
Yeah.
Cap rates are compressing all over the place, as you said, even in new markets that you're looking at. What is your prediction short term with the market, and then long term? Short term being the next year, and long term being the next 5 years. What is your prediction?
I think next year is going to start out the same way that it's ending, very pressed. I think interest rates are going to increase if they're going to hedge inflation, and they should. If not, inflation is going to keep going wild. That can't go on forever. And so at some point, the administration is going to, the American administration is going to do something about that. The United States administration, because you guys are Americans as well. So that being said, once that happens, interest rates start coming up, then I think the pressures on cap rates will release a little bit, and then I'm going to have more fun buying, because it's going to, it's going to turn, I think, more and more into a more neutral market, or get back onto the buyer side a little bit. I think that's going to take some time. I think maybe by the end of next year, we might see a little bit less compression on rates, on cap rates. Because deals are going to become more expensive.
Great.
Thank you for
Awesome.
that. All right.
Okay, so maybe we can.
Do you have any more questions?
Yeah, I want to ask one more question. What would be your advice? What would be your advice to a passive investor looking to start investing in these types of investments, syndicated investments, or real estate private equity? What would be your advice to a passive investor looking to start investing?
There are a lot of investment groups out there in the world, and a lot of new syndicators, old syndicators. So I would find a group that embodies what you want to do with your money. We all make choices in our life. We decide how to spend our money, whether it's on Louis Vuitton purses, and we're like, oh, why did I ever do that? Or if you're in Texas, a $200,000 pickup truck. Whatever you're going to do. And I mean, we choose, we decide every day, simple decisions that we make. And so find a group that aligns with your vision of the world and what you want to see happen. And then check their background and their record, and make sure they're not charlatans, and that you can trust them, and then move, take action.
Good advice. Great advice.
All right.
On to our next segment, the 10 championship rounds to financial freedom. So whatever comes top of mind, I'm looking forward to your responses. But the first question is, who is the most influential person in your life?
My dad.
Your dad? All right. What is the #1 book you'd recommend?
Ooh. I love books.
There's a lot.
So there's a great place to start is, The Wealthiest Man in Babylon, Good to Great, about leadership. Oh, there's so many books.
Okay, that's a good one. Awesome. Next question. If you had the opportunity to travel back in time, what advice would you give your younger self?
After slapping him,
a couple times.
A couple times, like
a couple times.
Don't do that deal. I would say, have faith and keep going.
Nice. All right, Sam, what's the best investment you've ever made?
My spouse.
Nice. I love that answer. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
We hear that often, actually. I'm not sure if our guests, the wives, are watching them from the background, but that keeps being a common answer.
yeah. Now, what's the worst investment you've ever made, and what lessons did you learn from it?
Made an investment with a couple partners, nice guys, had money, but they weren't ready to invest, if that makes sense. So I learned that who we partner with really, really matters. So even though we had forecasted an 8% cash on cash, and we were sitting at 12 or 13% cash on cash, because we buy distressed assets, there's always some challenge that we have to overcome, which is part of the fun for us. It's like, oh, now we got to solve this problem. We opened up a wall and there's this thing that shouldn't have been there. And so because that's part of the challenge and we do it, they just couldn't handle the unknown. And so at the end of the day, we bought them out for 8% and we were making 12%. We're like, okay, happy to take the arbitrage there, but really, really important who we invest with and the type of people they are all the way.
And at times I've also seen people making smart investments. It's a great investment, but because a partner is not the right partner, it deters them from that whole industry.
Yeah, it's
just
super
because they had
important.
such a bad experience, now they just get a bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. How much would you need in the bank to retire today? What is your number?
Trick question.
I couldn't retire if I wanted to. I'm just bred to keep working. I'm going to work until the day I die, I think.
You love what you do, right?
Keeps the brain going.
Yeah,
So if
keeps
your
the
brain
brain
is
going.
working, you're
Yeah.
going to live longer.
Buy until you die, as they say.
Buy until you die. All right. If you could have dinner with someone dead or alive, who would it be?
Probably Ava and Austin. I'm not sure. When are we going to dinner?
Absolutely. We got to go anytime. And if you're in Vancouver, we'd love to take you out, or
absolutely.
If we're down there in Texas, we're going to take you.
Foodies.
We got big foodies. So,
big foodies.
They say everything is bigger in Texas, and I'm a big steak guy. So you better take us to the best.
Oh, come on down. We'll cook up some brisket, steaks, whatever.
I love it. I love it. Perfect. Now, okay, this is a good one. If you weren't doing what you're doing today, what would you be doing now?
I have a small farm. I would probably be outside on the tractor working right now.
Nice.
I thought he was going to say he's going to be flying into disasters and saving people from things like what he used to do before.
Yeah. I did that for a while. Not anymore.
Okay.
Now, book smarts or street smarts?
Take a good mix.
All right. 50-50?
Yeah.
Okay.
Last question. If you had $1 million cash and you had to make one investment today, what would it be?
So we're buying some great apartments in Dallas, Fort Worth. That's a great place to put $1 million.
Perfect.
Nice. There you go.
That's a wrap. High five. It's great. That's awesome, Sam. Thank you so much for all your taking the time and being with us today. We are sure that our viewers got some golden nuggets away from this interview. Really appreciate it. Maybe we can.
Yeah, Sam, maybe you can just let everybody know what's the best way that they can reach you.
You can reach me at my email, sam@wildmountaincapital.com. You can find our website, www.wildmountaincapital.com, all spelled out. And feel free to reach out to me anytime. I answer my emails nonstop, and my wife will tell you that, unfortunately. But yes, I'm always or almost always available, and love to receive feedback and to hear from others.
Awesome. Thanks again for coming on the show today, Sam.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting us.